if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
So, this is the podcast, The Same Difference. I have with me my brother, Randy Gibson, and Ronald Gibson.
And we are exploring the space between who we are and who we're meant to become.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
We have a really good podcast. We want to start it off with that funny little clip. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, it's always a very entertaining clip, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the theme of this start of this podcast, which is the quiet grind. Discipline is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I say that quote all the time at dinner to my 4-year-old, and she loves it, Lydia. Uh,
If you
basically,
don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding.
and then she immediately wants to go into like a dance fest and playing the whole song, so it gets her to start liking Pink Floyd.
I love it. Yeah, Henry's loving Tom Petty. If you can get your kids loving Tom Petty, Pink Floyd, and the
Yeah,
Goats at an early age, you're doing something right, I feel like.
100%, 100%.
So let's start us off. I thought a good starting point, Ran, would be to start off just sharing your day-to-day quiet grind, if you will, of what you do, start in the morning and kind of, go throughout your day and just share what you do throughout your day
Mm,
as far as disciplines.
yeah. So I wake up usually around 5 a.m. every day, and that's between Monday and Friday work days. And the first thing I'm doing is, depending on the days, sometimes I'm running, sometimes I go right out on a run. Mondays especially, because Mondays are the most difficult days to get into the swing of things. And I know if I don't go on a run, it's gonna be one of those Mondays where you're gonna start feeling the negative effects of not doing that. You start, the stress and anxiety build up. So I
Mm-hmm.
usually knock out a run. Throughout the rest of the week, I'm usually waiting for my run midday because I'm either writing or reading instead of running, trying to get my habits in. So I'm writing or reading, and uh, that could be personal books, that could be professional books, depending on my, whatever the flavor of the day is, flavor of the week is. And then it gets around to, and then I get into work roughly around 6, depending on, if I'm really busy at work, I'm starting work at 5:30 or 5. Hell, sometimes I wake up at 4:30. I'm pushing the limits, Um, and then, I'll drink a decaf coffee, but I usually don't eat until later on, late morning, early afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so there it's working for a good chunk. I try to get like undistracted work for at least 3 to 4 hours, ideally.
Mm.
And that's really where like all my work comes throughout the day. I'm, as but if anybody's listening to this, it's most of my work. Like I'm a remote worker and 100% remote, and so most of my work is at home. So I'm like, I get all my work done within like those first 4 hours, and then in the afternoon a bunch of stuff comes up. You have meetings and stuff. So throughout the day, I'm usually in the middle of the day, I'll take a break. So I basically break my day up in 2 chunks. It's like 4 hours deep work, go to the gym or a run, depending on the day. So I try to do like, I run 3 to 4 times a week. I work out uh, once, twice, maybe 3 times a week. And yeah, so it's like that same thing, 5 days a week. And try to do like an intermittent fast here and there a few times a week, peel to back over time. But yeah, that's the habits. But it's just trying to get in. And of course, my daughters wake up around 6:37, depending on how busy I am. I'll wake them up. I'll walk the dog. Um, maybe unload the dishwasher, or load the dishwasher, one or the other.
Mhm.
Get them fed, and then hand them off to Tina and my wife, and that's like the routine every day. And usually end work around 5 or so, and then it's like going on a walk. So I usually walk the dog, and then at the end of the day, I'm trying to walk the dog as well because
Mhm.
he needs his same like discipline as much as I do. There's a
Yeah.
quote. I remember someone said a tired dog is a good dog or something along those
Mhm.
lines. It's probably the
Yeah.
same thing for humans.
No, it's good. Yeah, my dog has higher anxiety if she doesn't go on my run with me in the mornings or goes on a walk for the day. I can just feel her anxiety is a little bit higher. And
Yeah,
same for us humans.
yeah,
If we're
yeah.
not, we're just a little more irritable if we don't get our exercise or movement in for the day. We're just
hmm
a tad more irritable. And if you don't work out, try it out because it's very impactful.
What I miss? Is there anything? Is what cold showers? That's something I miss.
Oh yeah, cold shower.
How many? Like, tell me about your cold shower routine, Ron. How
Yeah.
long you been doing it?
We've been doing cold showers about 3 years now. For the first year, did it every day, and then we built. I say we because Randy and I been doing it together, and then our buddy Rob Agee, has been doing it with us for about 3 years straight. And then we gave ourselves an off day, one off day a week, and of when and it's just 3 minutes, 3 minutes usually after you work out, and it's just a cold shower for 3 straight minutes. It's it sucks for sure, and especially in the winters, it really sucks, and it's probably
Say
one of
the
the
least.
hardest things I've had to do. I remember when there's a lot of habits that I built in my life that I started, gave up, or kind of they kind of
hmm
just got away from me, and then I brought them back because I just kept hearing more people talk about them and how
hmm
beneficial it is for you. And that's to me that's how I built most of my habits in my life, and started to develop discipline. My life was just I just kept hearing it from other people on a podcast, in a book, and everybody just kept saying the same thing. And they said, "Hey, you need to start reading more. You need to take cold showers because it gives you more dopamine than a cocaine bump."
Yeah,
Not that
yeah.
I know what that feels like, but and then then it just goes on and on of how much benefits it is to your life, and then you start implementing it, and then you're like, oh dang, this is very impactful. So my day's pretty similar. Work out first thing in the morning. Usually my son wakes up 5:36 right around the
Mm,
same time, so I'm running with my dog and my kid. Sometimes both boys. I'll be running with both of them and the dog.
yeah.
It's just like I got to get it in, and so they may as well join me. And then take my cold shower. I like to throw in a sauna in there as well. Have an
Yeah.
at home sauna.
Sauna's
Um,
good.
so if we
Forgot about that
mix
one.
mix that in, and then but yeah, it's six out of 7 days. I give myself one off day, and then even lately, I don't even like the off day because I notice myself just a tad more irritable.
hmm
So I'll at least run a little bit on my walk, or just do a little bit of exercise weights in the day to try and or early on because I can just notice a little bit of irritableness or
Yeah.
brain ruminating on something and it shouldn't be.
Yeah. 100%.
And then yeah, fasting is a big one. Intermittent fasting, not snacking after 7 p.m. and not eating the first thing as soon as you wake up. And then yeah, reading's a big one. I try to habit stack. We may as well just get into about should we just start getting in about how we built discipline? Like,
Yeah, because
eh,
one of the things I was thinking about is because you named a bunch of different things, and it takes like years, some of
yeah,
them decade to build up. Like I was talking to someone was asking about my running habit, and he was like, oh, he's 26, coworker, and he's like, oh, I told him I just came back from a run or something, and he was like, he was like, "No, I'm not a runner." I was like, "Neither was I at your age." But around 28, I still remember my first run. Uh, when I was
Hmm.
not like literally first run, but like when you started the habit
Hmm.
or tried to, I was just exhausted, stopped a bunch of times, and then
Yeah.
just like you said with the cold showers, it you start and then you'd slack and then you would go back and forth and then you'd lose motivation, build motivation, go back, and eventually it adds to your routine,
Man,
and
I
now
hate it.
now you're running.
I hated running, man, when we first, because we would do weight training, meathead stuff in the gym, but never did too much running. And I just remember hating it with a passion.
Hmm.
And that was before it built in any real discipline, but just kept hearing how much beneficial exercise is mentally and physically, and how much this extends your life and all these things for dementia, and
Yep.
you could go on and on. But that really sold me, and I was like, I have to implement this. And it was just it took a while. That
Yeah.
was a very tough habit to, because nobody's a runner.
No.
Now I'm a runner.
Yeah.
Now I don't mind it too much. It's like second nature. But took it probably took 2 years of just suck, and
Yeah.
and that's a tough thing to, if you want to implement a running habit. Oh shit, 2 years I gotta
Or even
I,
the yeah.
I gotta do this before it gets any better.
Well, you mentioned other people mentioning how good it is, but then you also experience it as well, where, you know, I mentioned it when I run, like, there's no negotiation for me on Monday mornings now. Like Monday morning, 5 a.m.,
Hmm.
I'm running no matter
Hmm.
what, and it sucks. But my Monday's literally twice as better.
Hmm.
I'm feeling, thinking less anxiety, less stress, etc.
Hmm.
Uh, you just kind of relax into your day,
Hmm.
and you're thinking better. And but like this anxious anxiety builds up in like the corporate world, and everybody's got their plans and they're talking to you and they want to book meetings, and your
Yeah.
boss is asking you what you're working on this week.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
builds, and you got meetings and stuff. What happened to this? And everything builds up, and then you just like, and it's like you have to release it. You have to
Hmm.
release it, and so it's yeah, it's another one of those things like that cold shower. I did a cold shower today. I did my cold shower today, and like creativity was flowing.
Hmm.
And that's another like huge benefit.
Hmm.
That unexpected benefit where you do a run, you do a cold shower. If I do a run and cold shower, like if I that's my like go-to routine if I need to like change my mood.
Hmm. For sure. A day well begun is a day half done. I forget who said that. Maybe
Mm,
Tim Ferriss, but that always resonated me. And I always try to tell people, especially my old sales teams when I was a sales manager, is like, don't start your day and go straight into work, because then everything comes in with all that stuff that sucks. Your
mm,
boss is hammering you about something you didn't finish on Friday, or a customer's complaining, and it's just like there's a lot of crappy things that you got to deal with at work, and it's just going to probably bring you down unless you make a cold call, or do
mm,
something really creative at the beginning. It's usually not going to bring you up, it's going to bring you down. So if you started out a day well begun, like you started out with a run, you started, or just some weight training, and then you do a sauna. Then in the sauna you're reading too, and you find
mhm,
some creative, or you're writing in the sauna. I like
mhm,
to habit stack habits on top of each other, and then it, I do those 4 or 5 things, and then I'm playing with my son as well. Sometimes I'll take a break at the parks. I'm playing with my kids, and
mhm,
I'm doing all those things, and then I begin my work day.
mhm, mhm,
And then it's like just a complete shift. I don't need caffeine. I
mhm.
don't need I don't need anything. I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to roll. Like,
Yeah,
nothing at work's gonna in the morning is gonna pull me down, because
yeah,
I'm already.
100%.
I feel like I've won the day already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. there was something that you were tying in there that when we were preparing, we were kind of talking about was like if you surround there's that famous quote of like you surround yourself by the people you want to be or something along those lines.
Hmm.
And like what's
Yeah.
great, what were you about to say?
I
You want to
think,
clarify it?
yeah, there was one that Tim Ferriss again. I think he said, "You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most,"
Mm.
and it could be
And
virtually, it could be in
yeah,
person.
that's what I was
Yeah.
going to point. I was going to make virtually is everyone you've probably mentioned around cold showers, like I don't know anyone that has taken a cold shower for 6 days and 6 out of the 7 days, or even 7 days for 3 years in a row, let alone 1 year.
Hmm.
And but if you turn on a podcast, you can find people, you know, and so
Hmm.
you're like surrounding yourself by these like uh, mentors, like virtual mentors, and they don't even know that you're your mentor. And that's one of the things I said to a coworker a while back. It was probably 7 years ago, and it like flipped his mindset because I was just like, what are the think about what industry and like you want to be X, you want to be Y. We take the best person in X or Y, whether it's say you're a designer, say you're a comedian, or say you're an engineer. Take the best. What do they do? Just like look at what they do,
Hmm.
and you're gonna see this like very disciplined person, similar to the podcast name, like they're grinding quietly when no
Hmm.
one's looking over and over and over and over, and they're doing all of these positive things like reading or writing or taking cold showers or doing strength training or eating very healthy, and it's just like that's what, in order to be the best of the best, you have to do it.
Hmm. And to me,
It-
that's what true discipline is about in my eyes. Is it's not just, oh, you're great at work. Yeah, you're a good salesman at work, but then you're not, you know, you don't have healthy habits at home emotionally or physically or eating whatever,
mhm,
right? And it's just it's throughout your life. To me, that's true discipline. It's like, are you doing the right things, high character things with your family? Are you treating your wife right? Are you doing family? Are you cooking dinners, helping your wife cook dinners? Are you, um, you know, reading? Are you doing creative things? Are anything? It's just like all across your life, your discipline, and
mhm,
it's not just one thing. Because I see that in a lot of life of just going through, and someone's really good at one thing, but then they kind of let everything else fall. Their
mhm,
their relationship, their wife, and then they end up getting a
mhm.
divorce,
Like you
or
can add discipline to that, like your relationship with your wife,
yeah,
or your kids.
yeah,
You, like the thing I've been obsessed with recently is the father John Brown of the athletes, few NFL athletes.
mm,
Uh, One of them's a Lions wide receiver, something St. Brown. I can't remember his name. I'm on St. Brown or whatever. He's
yeah,
like what
and
top
like
wide
Marquise
receiver.
Brown, I think's the other one.
He's been on a podcast. He's been saying giving some a lot of hot takes. And one of the things that it's like pierced my soul is people are asking like, how do you get three sons to go Division I football, one best receiver in the NFL, yada yada yada. And he's basically just like lazy, lazy parent. Like there's no such thing as a lazy kid. It's just lazy parents.
Mm,
And he just
mm,
goes into like the regimen he's built for his kids and building discipline and just taking it to the next level. And that
mm,
motivates the hell out of me. Uh, when I'm by myself, the thoughts creep in, the of like resistance kind of creeps in. Says,
mm,
you know, your 4-year-old wants to go to the zoo, and you're like, wow, man, that's 30 minutes away. What am I gonna do about? There's gonna be nap time I have to deal with. The 1-year-old's gonna be, I got to get him in the seat. It's 90 degrees out. All
mm,
of it,
yeah, yeah,
all of it just starts creeping in, and I'm just thinking, what's the alternative, man? What's the alternative? Am I gonna sit around at home and twiddle my thumbs and not, yeah, not good? So I was like, I'm gonna go to the zoo,
mm,
and so I'm just gonna I'm gonna pierce through it. I'm gonna pierce through that uh, resistance, and so like that thing is just constantly in my mind. I think that's a lot of these like things will like motivate me in there's those moments. The quiet grind is like you get you're in the quiet, just you and your mind, and all the negative self-talk, all the resistance builds up, and especially 5 a.m. Monday morning, you know,
Hmm.
it's a full storm. It's a tornado in your mind telling
Hmm.
you like this isn't what you should do.
Yeah.
But I think what people who are on the journey, which we all are, that's what our like the podcast subtext is. It's like, you know, there's the subtext of the podcast I mentioned at the top of the call is like inspired by this quote that says philosophy is this philosophy is a conversation between your current self and your future self that's reached its full potential. And so like we're all on that journey of like trying to reach our full potential. You and I on this in this podcast having a conversation, like if we say things out loud, we put them into the universe.
Hmm.
uh Now we need to be held even more accountable to everything that we're doing, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
but I've already committed to taking 6 showers, or 6 days a week, cold showers for the rest of my life. Like I'm just committed. It's done
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I remember in the first year, I remember having thoughts of like, oh my God, I got to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I started that cold shower habit. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I started it and gave up. I did it like for a month, gave up for like 6 months, and then kept hearing it, and brought it back. So, like,
Mhm,
that's happened with a lot of my habits over time. And it's just sometimes, let's dig into some of like the specifics, I think, that helped you and I. Some of it's different, some of it's the same, some of it's the same
mhm,
difference.
mhm.
and we'll just see, you know. So for me, I think one of the biggest things that helped me start to build better habits and build discipline in my life was I read the book War of Art, and it was probably even a little bit before that as well, but this
Mhm,
kind of really solidified it in my head. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Buy that book if you haven't read it. Uh, but it's all about we have this voice in our head, and that voice in our head isn't us. He calls it resistance, and this resistance in our head uh, is this thing or this person or this roommate in your head that's constantly trying to sabotage your greatest dreams and aspirations in your life. And what we really got to do is you can't always listen to that. Sometimes it's intuition trying to tell you something, and but the majority of the time it's really trying to prevent you from becoming your best self in life. And that really, and then and it was almost you created this alter ego, and so you have resistance. So it's like, Mr. R is what we started calling him. Me, Randy, and our buddy Rob were in a text thread, and we call it Mr. R, and we'd have this account. And this is another uh, a great habit tracker where we'd text each other in the morning uh, when we'd complete our cold shower and our run,
Still
and it's
do
like, and
every
beat
day.
Mr. R. We resistance got resistance or resistance. This is what resistance was telling me today. It was telling me, oh, I got a little sniffly nose, or my son got up too early, or whatever it was. My wife's made me do this. Who knows? And it's that anything. Work. I work too long. Customers, I need a beer. I need to relax, right? No, that's resistance. Bring it back. Realize that's a voice in your head. That's not the real you. The real you is bring it back to the real you is 6 out of 7 days you're working out, taking a cold shower. You're a you're a book reader. You're you like to write every day. All these type of things.
Yeah, it's like your future self that's reached its full potential. Who is that?
Hmm.
And I think the other one is you mentioned working out 6 out of 7 days. It's not, you're going to start with one.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
goal is like
Yeah.
1 out of 7. make that a habit. Do that for 3 months straight, maybe 6 months straight,
That's a good point.
and then go to 2 days and 3 days and 4 days, and eventually, because what we're talking about is like over a decade of build up.
Yeah. Yeah. Over a decade of build up. And yeah, and what you really started out, one thing that a lot of people that talk about disciplines and habits is start small, start slow. It's like the Kaizen, and it's all about,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not a runner, don't try to run 3 miles. I'm going to run 2 or 3 miles every single day, and
Yeah,
it's like, no, that you're going to tap out quickly.
no, 100%.
Run a quarter mile. Do that every day for 5 days straight.
Yeah,
All
it's got
right.
to be easy.
Yeah.
That's what we both read the book. You didn't mention Atomic Habits, where he's like, you got to make it easy. Like,
Hmm.
don't pick the gym that's 30 minutes away. You're never gonna go. Pick the one that's like in your garage or
Yeah.
2 minutes away, 5 minutes away, whatever it is, because then you'll be more likely to go.
Hmm.
Uh, and same with like, run a quarter mile.
Hmm.
Like, don't even try to run 2 miles. Run a quarter mile and do that once a week, and you nail that, and then you start building up like confidence. I think the biggest thing is, we talked about that. Well, you just talked about the resistance. It's like that little Mr. R character eventually starts to become quieter
Hmm. Hmm.
and less pervasive. It's less like a tornado
Hmm.
and more of just like a whisper, and you can easily overcome it. Whereas it's much harder in the early stages, but once you're already doing it and you're committing to it, and you, like me, you and Rob AG, we're in a text thread together, and it's like, I see you both check in. You already did your Rob does his 8 miles on Sunday and a cold shower, and it's like, well, how the hell am I gonna
Yeah.
not show up?
Yeah.
I remember a lot of those, because there were times when it would just be 4 days a week or whatever, and now it's every day. So it's
Hmm.
just like, that um, accountability partner was another one. Like, just take it like an inch.
Hmm.
All of those, like, quippy things that everyone says are true.
Yeah. James Clear would talk about designing your environment, Atomic Habits. I read it twice now, maybe probably more, but add in all of his podcasts, listen to around it. But it's all about designing your environment around uh, queuing you up to perform your good habits and in removing the cues in your life for the bad habits. So, one thing I remember early on when we were trying to eat healthier, one thing that I did, is just did too much research and realized that fast food was just not going to get me anywhere in life.
Yeah.
And it was just bad, filled with pesticides, filled with bad seed oils, just on and on. And it's got like 30 ingredients in a hamburger and 18 in French fries. But it's like I just created a rule, ban, no more fast food, done.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, did that like
Hmm.
7 years ago and have yet. Chipotle was like the closest thing I've eaten fast food. It's been a
Hmm.
while since that, but it's create rules for yourself and don't make a bunch of rules because then you're not going to follow them. And then you get shame yourself and get all down.
And it could be a small rule. It could be like, if you're eating fast food 4 times a week, do it only once,
Yeah,
once a week.
yeah. And then it's just doing other things where if I have a lot of dark chocolate in the house, I'm eating it. Or
Oh,
if I have a
100%.
if I have a bunch of it, if I buy it in bulk, it's like, oh, I got a bunch. My brain's just like, I'm eating my
Yeah.
bars. I'm eating my bars. I'm eating them all fast
Yeah.
because oh, I got a bunch of them.
My best example is like, you go to a coffee shop or you go somewhere and you put something in the backpack. You put a snack in that
Yeah,
backpack, like there's no way it's not getting eaten.
yeah,
It's impossible.
for sure.
Honestly, I'll go to the coffee shop, I'll put something in there, and it's a struggle not to eat it before like 9 a.m. It's just like, it's just sitting there like screaming at you almost.
Yeah,
It's
it takes a
wild.
lot of willpower to get
Hmm.
get to the certain time that you want. I usually set a time for myself
Hmm.
until it gets like 10 or 11, then I eat it.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah,
100%.
designing your environment. I remember a couple of huge things were If you're trying to become a reader, sit a book out on your coffee table and have it sitting there, or have a couple books. Usually I'm reading it in between a couple books. So you're sitting them out, you see them, and then remove the TV. We have a neighbor, they only have a TV in their house. They only have a TV in their house. Like,
Yeah,
if you want to go that
that's
extreme,
next level.
right? But James Clear suggested just unplug the TV. It makes it a little more difficult, right?
Yeah.
And or just remove it out of your room. But it makes it difficult. You unplug it, and then the book's there. It's a lot easier to pick up that book than go plug the TV in, turn it on, find
Yeah.
the thing, do
Figure
all
out
the
the yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
pick what
Yeah.
show you and your wife want to watch. So it's like doing these small things that are designing your environment. You talked about working out. I've always slept in shorts and a t-shirt, and I don't have to change. I don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
I just put on my running shoes and I'm out the door. Like,
Mhm.
I don't have to do much. So it's
Mhm.
like, hey, wear something you can work out in to bed so you can come
Yeah.
out and work. So like a lot of these small little habits, I think is big uh, when it comes to designing your environment around them.
And they're almost like they build on top of each other too. Like once you add like one good one, like it's almost like you're optimizing for the next one. Because that's why it's just been like 10 years of just building up habits, and now it's like brushing your teeth.
Hmm.
Not, like a cold shower is like brushing my teeth.
Hmm.
I just can't not do it. Rare occasions, and that's why we have that one off day a week. With like, say you wake up at, uh, your kids wake you up at 5 a.m. and you got to get on the road by 6 a.m. You're driving all day, and some days you just don't, but that's your off day,
Hmm.
and now you gotta knock it out the next day.
Yeah, because you miss one day but never miss twice. Like once you
What's
start
that quote?
building up,
Once you miss it twice, it becomes a habit.
it starts to be it starts to reverse in the other way into a bad habit.
Yes.
Yeah. So I stick to that very uh yeah, I stick to that strongly. It's just if I miss one day, there's zero chance I'm missing that 2 days in a row.
100%.
That's like one of those rule creations that you have for yourself. That was another James Clear Atomic Habits. And I think he learned it from something else because when I was having AI find studies for me, that was in a habit study.
Mm.
It was something around there.
Oh, interesting.
Don't miss if you miss 1 or 2 days, and then it'll start forming the other one.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I wanted to mention was when I was doing some research on this was what was funny about the whole Pink Floyd thing. You can't have any pudding unless you eat your meat. As I was looking at one of the books I read around the boy crisis, and he was talking about how it teaching your children the boy crisis is about the crisis of boys and men in society, and he was teaching you how to build up like the discipline of like delayed gratification or postponing gratification and for a child. And uh,
The book was about, yeah, like mental illness in men, kind of
yeah,
yeah, that's
that's the
kind of
crisis.
yeah.
And what he talked about is like, well, if you eat your peas before you eat your ice cream, or if you eat your broccoli before you eat your ice cream, it's like it teaches them that delayed gratification, and that's what it all is, right? That's what we've been talking about, everything.
Hmm.
And um, what he talked about in there is that actually, like, if you don't teach them this, if they don't start building that habit of delaying gratification, it can start building up like attention ADD, attention to
Mm.
deficit disorder, ADHD. He said it's the single most discipline your son needs. It's
Delayed
wild.
gratification. Yeah.
Yeah. He called it postponing gratification. It stretches the psychic muscles, is what he called it.
Hmm. I love that. There was another thing that goes hand in hand with this, and I think it's the reason it's so difficult for us, everyone, to like build habits is because the cost of not doing them isn't realized until it's usually too late. We don't see the cost of not doing it until it's many years down the road, and you don't like the way your body looks, or there's been a lot of sudden deaths in um, people, not in our family, but friends, family members. Some older, some 50s, 60s, right, that are died in their sleep or had some heart issues and passed away suddenly. And one of the things that the parents were saying is like, oh, we really need to finally, we haven't been eating very well, and we haven't been taking our walks. Like, we finally need to do it now, and that's like, it was finally kicking in for them. And I want to say right now, like, it's never too late to make a change, right? There's a ton of studies on how beneficial, I think, one of the most recent studies I read where it was like, if you're 60 years old and older and then you pick up a walking habit, and it's like 6,000 steps a day, it'll lower all cause mortality by like 25% or something
I told
crazy
someone
high.
about this as well because
And it's,
I have a walking or like a treadmill desk, and so I was rattling off that to a coworker.
yeah. But yeah, and I think that's what that delay gratification does. It teaches them, it's like, hey, you'll eventually get your gratification. You'll start feeling better. Your bowel movements will be better. I remember that was one of the first things when we started eating healthier. The bowel movements are better. You just felt better, and then eventually, you just your body looks better. Your skin, starts more shinier. Less gray hairs. Your hair's falling out less, right? Because you're doing
Yep.
all these things, but
Mental
everybody wants
health.
to try and do it kind of. Yeah, mental health is a huge one.
Seneca, there was a quote from Seneca said, "We treat the body rigorously so that it will not be disobedient to the mind."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think that like mental health is something that was. I remember I was having some like mental health issues around uh, like I had OCD as a kid, and I had some over the last couple years. I remember like that being a powerful motivation where uh, it was like intrusive thoughts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like a powerful motivation was just like cold showers, especially every day. It just it like my mental health was 10 times better. Like the intrusive thoughts, the OCD thing, like
Mm-hmm.
was at that time when I was struggling with it, it was like cranked up to like a 10 at some times, and then I started added that to my habit every single day, and it basically went away and never came back. So that was like a powerful motivation, you
Man,
know,
I
for
hear
me.
that from so many people on podcasts, so many people that implement a walking, running habit, meditation habit, all have this same type of experience where they're less anxiety, less intrusive thoughts, all these different things in their life, beneficial things that they overcome. And to me, I think one of the beneficial things of meditation and exercise, kind of going on that quote, if you don't treat the body rigorously, or you treat the body rigorously so it's not disobedient to the mind,
Hmm.
and is there's actually a lot of science behind it when it comes to meditation or mindfulness. Is they've did a lot of studies where they do scans of your brain of long-term meditators, and the scans of the long-term meditators, they have a stronger connection between the prefrontal cortex, the like control center, to the amygdala, which is fight or flight, emotions, all those type of things.
Hmm.
And so there's a stronger connection. And then they were doing, in this study, they were showing like a frightening picture, and then the meditators, the longer term meditators, were able to not have uh, as big as a response as the other folks. It's because your prefrontal cortex is connected to that
Yeah.
amygdala, and you develop the connection. I think exercise does that really well, and that's
Yeah.
what we could talk about Goggins here in a few minutes,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
what Goggins, he's so misunderstood because his whole thing is built on that. You treat the body vigorously so that it will not be disobedient to the mind. Or the other one I like, the book of Proverbs, if you do not rule over yourself, you will be ruled by something else.
Mm.
So if you not rule over yourself, you'll be ruled by something else in the similar way. That something else is probably that
You know,
monkey mind or
and I remember hearing, I think Jordan Peterson said, and he may have got it from a proverb or something, but he said it's harder to rule yourself than rule a city,
Yeah, that's a good
which
one.
it goes in, and that's why it's like so difficult. I think that's why like discipline is so important because it's so difficult to tame the monkey mind, to tame the built-in evolutionary biology of like the negative thoughts at 5 a.m. on Monday or the mental health issues and all of it. Like
Hmm.
it's so hard to tame it. I personally think that like religion is a form of discipline used to tame the human nature
Hmm.
from not, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Uh, and and uh, and so all of these things, like we build up, I think we build up all of these. If we don't release, like there's a lot of science around the mind body connection, and like if we don't release these stored emotions, uh, and then they're gonna build up, and it's gonna look. And the way we release them is through exercise or doing hard things or yoga, hot exposure, cold exposure, whatever the hell's in your rhythm. What's that Chinese medicine where they poke you with needles?
Uh,
That's
I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
wanting to say Ayurvedica, but that's not it.
I think it's a type of it, but
Yeah.
anyway, it's like that Chinese medicine where they poke you with needles and they're really like removing those like stored emotions. It's like a
Hmm.
form of that, and I think like doing these types of exercises like help release it so that you can like feel better, and then you could get back into like an equilibrium, and
Hmm.
then you go back, and as soon as you start slacking you're you kind of break that equilibrium, and then you need to get it back into the equilibrium,
Yeah. Because a lot of these things, a lot of these bad habits is where we've lost our way is because we build up these things in our life to not do them almost. It's like you're building up these neuroses in your head to avoid these hard things, right, around your life. And to me, I think when you're exercising, when you have all these like strong discipline, or whether it's religion or studying philosophy or reading, you're you're thinking, your monkey mind isn't going, that resistance doesn't have, and you're thinking more clearly usually. And then you can start to think. When you're thinking more clearly, then you can avoid some of the pitfalls that come when resistance is telling you, hey, you don't need to do this or you don't need to do that. Hey, you can take the day off, blah, blah, blah. And so anytime you're thinking more clearly, you give yourself a better chance to perform in the disciplines and the habits that you want to create in your life. And that's always something that you want to aim for. Um,
Yeah, I love that. You were talking about Goggins, and there's the what was it called? The angular. It's called the anterior mid cingulate cortex. It's like a part within your brain, and it grows when you do things you don't want to do.
mhm,
But it doesn't grow when you do things that are when you don't. So when you do things you don't want to do, uh, that grows, and there's a ton of science backed by it that shows like once that thing grows, it's it's bigger in people who live longer.
mhm,
It is back to when you're talking about like emotional IQ and being able to control emotions and not react. It's like bigger in those types of people. And Goggins, I heard someone on a podcast call it the Goggins cortex. Just said
yeah,
screw that confusing name, just call it the Goggins cortex.
yeah, we'll call it that.
Yeah. So the Goggins cortex is something that motivates me. Because I remember after reading Goggins' book, there's a story that sticks with me in his first book around I think he was in Indianapolis and he was running. It was in the winter,
Mm-hmm.
and he was by himself at like 5 a.m. and there's a lake, and he just jumps in it. It's like frozen, and he jumps in this lake, and then has to walk out of this lake. He's like halfway in his run, and then has to run all the way home in this cold and wet. But he was like he was building himself up to race, or for the Navy SEALs. I can't remember what that one was at that time, but he was building himself up. And there's no way you would want to jump in a cold lake. But I've actually done that. I was running in Indianapolis and it wasn't frozen, but I jumped in a lake because I was like, I need to get my cold shower anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm already there, so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna jump in, lay in there, and get my cold shower or cold exposure right there. And it's like something you don't want to do, but you do it, and then I think that's what it is. It's like whatever that thing is, the Goggins cortex, it's constantly trying to prevent you. Well, the path of least resistance. Like we're evolved to take the path of least resistance, and we will always take it because like we need to conserve energy. You know, I love watching those like Netflix documentaries around animals where they're conserving energy, and they'll conserve energy for like fucking 6 months before they're getting ready for the kill. We're the same, you know, we're animals trying to conserve energy, and we're going to do that. We're going to optimize for that. But one of the things you were saying before this, when we were talking about native cultures, you know, Native Americans or indigenous cultures, and when they're in that tribe, do you remember what you said? Because I think it was good. It was around this building habits and stuff.
Yeah, I think why, because you were talking about how Native Americans, they to me, I think how people built it was kind of like five. You are the average of the five people around you, and I think when all your when all your grown-ups around you are doing this thing, and when everyone in your tribe is doing this thing, it's gonna like why would you not do anything else? Because you talked about how they're like expert fishermen, and the Europeans came over and didn't know how to fish, but there's so many fish, and they didn't have fishing poles or anything. They're just throwing nets out, spearing fish. And to me, that what gives me a lot of desire and just what keeps me going, and even before I have kids, but especially now that I have kids, is to be even more disciplined so they can see it. And I know that if I'm more disciplined when I eat, or if I'm eating junk food all the time, my kids and my wife more likely. Because same thing for me though. I'm not perfect. If my wife's eating junk food, it's going to increase my odds of doing
Oh,
something.
100%.
We're snacking on something, it's going to increase my odds. Or
A little margarita.
Randy's eating something, I'm doing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Oh,
like
anytime I'm with
yeah.
you and I see you go for, a drink, I'm like, yeah, screw it. Let's drink, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
All it takes is like one person in your tribe to jump in, and you're like, let's do it.
Yeah. That really resonated with me, and like Jordan Peterson would talk about this a lot in his 12 Rules for Life book, of just trying to and a lot of times I remember some really depressed people posting on and they're like, oh, people just tell me to go run, and and I can't even get out of bed, right? My
Yeah.
wife's a therapist and here's similar type of stuff. And
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson would say, start by just making your bed. You like tackle one dragon at a time. And if you can make your bed, if you're that low, just make your bed 6 days in a row or 7 days in a row. And then when you make your bed, start to unclutter your desk, and then just keep building out. Then maybe make your breakfast the next morning, or because I remember severely depressed people, they can't even shower. It's like
I bet that like whatever's preventing that Goggins cortex is like severely depleted,
yeah, that's a
and
good
you got to
point.
rebuild it all the way up from ground zero.
That Goggins cortex, when I heard about that, that was probably one of the most motivational things for me, because I've installed sprinting in my habits, and I hate sprinting because my lungs are, I'm just sucking air after I'm done. It just sucks. But every time I try and my resistance steps in, I
Yeah.
think of the Goggins Cortex, and I
Yeah.
just do it anyway.
I do the same thing. Like you're on a run, like, I could not sprint today, and then I'm like, well, that it's almost like that's a trigger for me to sprint.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, well, I got to at least do one now because the resistance has already came in,
hmm
and now you have to do it. And but that takes a while to not give in. It's like that Goggins cortex in your brain has to grow, like
hmm
it was talked about in the studies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like you and I 10 years in, if we measured it, it's probably a lot bigger, but it's not nowhere near as big as Goggins.
Yeah. Not even close.
Yeah. So, and it never will be. Like I don't plan to be on Goggins' level,
Mm.
but you can get that's at least like a strong motivator.
That
Uh,
was probably one of the biggest if you're trying to do something difficult in your life. I remember when I was interviewing for different roles or uh, trying to build habits. When I was writing some of my speeches, one of the things that always helped was reading Goggins' book. I think I read both of them twice. Can't Hurt Me and Never Finished. And those two books, there's just something empowering about reading or listening to someone else's story where they've overcome such uh, hardships like throughout his life and childhood, and he was 300 pounds, and he was an exterminator in Indiana. For you Indianapolis people, he was running on the Monon Trail. That's what he was running on that
that's what it
story
was.
I was talking
Yeah,
about earlier,
yeah,
which goes through
yeah,
Indy.
yeah,
But he does all these things, then he became a Navy SEAL, and then he broke the record of pull-ups, and he just kept overcoming and overcoming. This guy, he was just some black guy in a small town in Indiana, Brazil, Indiana, that just overcome. And then when you read him running these 200-mile runs and going
hmm
through where he's like knees all screwed up, and he's just still overcoming it. And to that are some of the most motivation that you can have when I read those books. And that's what I think mentors do. Like I look at David Goggins as a mentor, and then or like Joe Rogan, I look at him as a mentor. He's the one that suggested that War of Art book that I
hmm
talked about. And then I and what I'm trying to do, what we're trying to do, is be like little mentors. So you learn through other mentors who are doing great things, and then you kind of bring it in your own tribe. You're creating that Native American tribe
yeah,
that you talked about, where maybe I can raise my family up,
yeah,
or if your family's all down. That's kind of what that Jordan Peterson was saying. Like, be the one that raises your family up. Start making your bed when no one else is making your bed, and you'll get people. You'll get family. And I wanted to touch on this, and it just came up in my head. It's like we got a lot of resistance when we started making all these changes in our life from
yeah.
people around us.
hmm
People made fun of we were eating mackerel out of cans. People were
hmm
making fun of that. People were
hmm
making fun of running. People were making fun of all these different things.
We did the same thing before we'd make fun of the other people.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
a
So I
it's a
don't blame
cycle
them.
of life. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame them at all.
yeah,
People
yeah,
yell at me when I'm running. I just laugh.
yeah, yeah.
But like there's your people around you are going to bring you down. Just know that's a cue that you're doing something right, and eventually they're going to either join you or may just take a break of talking to you as much, and eventually once they start picking up some good habits in their life, and start to maybe do some of the things that you're doing, or it don't have to be the exact same thing.
Well, I think there was two things that I wanted to bring up about like the Goggin story, and then also what you're just talking about, where like people trying to bring you down, and there's something you said earlier around uh, your subconscious like puts these things out there. We've been reading a ton, and you've read a book. I've read a separate book. I read this book called The Courage to Be Disliked about the psychology, Alfred Adler, and the psychology of the human brain. And like one of the things he talks about is like what will happen is our consciousness will serve things up and and make excuses, and he calls them like life. It's called like a life lie. We create these like life lies
Mm.
that that shape our lives, and we tell us they turn into like beliefs, and we story tell, and it like prevents us from doing what we should be doing. And I think that what I've come to figure I come to figure out is like what I'm saying and thinking and doing and telling people, is this like a life lie? What am I preventing? For example, here, like a
Mm.
great one is like, I used to like overwork or something. Oh, I gotta work. I gotta work extra. I gotta provide for the family.
Mm.
I can't watch the kids. I gotta provide for the family. That's a life lie. No, you need to be responsible for your family. You need to be responsible for handling your relationship with your wife, like you talked about earlier. And these are things your subconscious builds up to avoid the responsibility of doing the thing. And I think when people are trying to bring you down, what's being externalized is like them trying to avoid the responsibility
Mm-hmm.
of like doing something that's very difficult. Uh, and
I think that's how people get siloed into one habit and not the others, like
Yep,
I was talking about earlier.
yeah. And I think it ties back to Goggins. You look at the hate from Goggins,
Mm.
and he gets, and it's a story people are creating. Oh, he's a psycho, or he's a psycho. This guy's crazy. This the first thing I hear people. Oh, this guy's crazy. And I'm like, in what in what way? Like, or you could look at it and look at it as like from a growth mindset perspective. Like
Mm-hmm.
with Jocko Willink, he has that YouTube video where he says like the whole YouTube clip is him saying good. It's like, oh, you wake up and your daughter wakes up at 4 a.m. And she has a blowout diaper and you get it all over your shirt. Good. It's an opportunity to be up at 4 a.m. with your daughter and start your day up early. And
Mm.
he's like, and then you take off on a run and you trip and fall and it's like good. Take it. It's an opportunity for you to grow and like pay attention more or something. It's like just looking through, or you make 100 cold calls and none of them land. Good. Now you're developing a habit around uh, cold calls, and you just
Mm.
constantly like reverse the mindset of everything's perceived through a different lens,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
that you can now um, see it as an opportunity versus, and I think that's important in this whole like quiet grind, because when we get off this podcast, you and I are back into our like just us and our mind, and now we got to get back to it. And I
Mm.
think it's important for everybody to be like, you gotta be able to like, going back to the original, where like what's your what is your like what we're talking about is philosophy. We're trying to figure out, we're trying to take these philosophies and trying to reach our future self that's reached its full potential. You'll never get there, right? Because it's a never-ending game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Could be a couple lives out,
yeah, yeah,
if you believe in reincarnation.
yeah, 100%. And so I think that's what we're trying to do. Like, we're not trying to like preach or anything. It's just like we're trying to establish a philosophy to improve, um, so we could reach our future self,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
And we're not perfect. We're continuously. I'll pick up a writing habit and do it for like 5 months, and
Oh,
I just gave it up, and I'm trying to build it back up recently. And so
yep.
it's just a constant thing that you're dealing with. You're constantly battling that resistance in your head, and I think the mindset thing is huge. And reading a lot of uh, Joe Dispenza, and it just really helped me th- know that every single thought I have is very, very impactful. So if I'm having a negative thought every time it rains, oh, it's raining, today's gonna suck. That's not a good way to start your day
Yeah.
because I'd see it at my work all the time. We come in, it's raining, it's like I was like, perfect, man. I'm gonna go for a run. It's
Good.
quiet, nobody's out there,
Good.
you
Yeah.
know. So it's
Yeah.
like if that's a massive shift, if you can just start to change things, well, you just like just realize how impactful every single thought is, and it's like be impeccable with your word. And same thing, the words in your head or the words that you
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I was trying to think. We're coming up here to a close. I was trying to think if you had anything else that you want to jump in here.
Let me see if I have any other good notes that were
Yeah,
that were good.
reading is a big thing that we learned a lot of these things and still learn.
Yeah.
When it comes to like philosophies, religions, Goggins, building better habits. Um,
I think the important thing is that is because like once once you that quiet grind, right? 5 a.m. Monday or noon when you're supposed to go work out, these thoughts are going to come up. And like if you're reading or doing podcasts and you're following all these like mentors, that's what's going to pop up, right?
mm-hmm,
The
mm-hmm,
podcast of like lazy parents, lazy kids, that's what pops up, right? But
mm-hmm.
if I didn't read that, then like what am I going to base it off of? I'm just going to base it off of, nothing. So that's I think important. And actually, one of the things I wanted to I was when I was doing the research, it was interesting to note is this like we've been struggling with this as humans for a long time. Like the whole concept of stoicism, the most popular philosophy like among Romans, and it was with the Greeks. It says like the Stoic values emphasize self-discipline like above all else. Uh, and this was 2,000 years ago,
Yeah,
and so it's like we've been struggling with it
yeah.
for
A life unexamined
centuries.
and is not worth living. I think Socrates said, and
Hmm.
it's like, hey, it's time to examine your life because if we're not examining it, doing these things you talk about, that's kind of what. If you're not examining it, then you're not building better habits. You're not getting more discipline.
Epictetus, what do you say? How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?
Yeah, I love that quote. That's probably my favorite quote, and there's a larger quote to it, but that I find great motivation out of that quote. It's just like, hey, how long are you gonna wait before you demand the
Yeah.
best for yourself? You shouldn't wait very long. Don't. Then one of the good ones that goes hand in hand with that is don't wait. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. Benjamin
Mm,
Franklin says that. So like,
mm,
take all this that we said, that we talked about, and just try and pick up one thing and start today, not tomorrow, not tomorrow. Start today and do something small and just try and build up towards it. And you know, good luck on your journey.
yeah, we'll be there with you in the quiet grind for
Yeah,
sure.
throw if you made it this far, throw in the comments um, Goggins mindset.
Yeah. Throw
Uh,
in the comments like s- struggles, what you're struggling with,
yeah,
or what yeah, maybe someone else is on the same journey.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I think it's good. We'll end it there. Thanks for having us.
Thanks everybody.
Yeah, appreciate it.